Hi, my name is Brendan Ecker, and I just wanted to leave my comments on the events that are happening and trending currently on X.
And away we go. So remember about a week and a half ago, I made a video about this tweet, Candace saying there's a 9/11 style attack happening the second week of December. Well, it happened because not one, but two mass shootings happened within 24 hours of each other, starting with this one at Brown University, where 2 are dead and 8 are in critical condition. Then we have this one that happened at Bondi Beach, Australia, where 12 are unalive, including one of the shooters, making this Australia's deadliest shooting in 3 decades. Now, make no mistake about it, just like 9/11 being a false flag psyop, these are false flag psyops. Which means the events are real, the victims are real, but who and what behind it is much more nefarious than you think, with somebody pulling the strings. I mean, can anybody tell me why not one, but 2 survivors from the Brown University shooting were also survivors in 2 separate shootings, one in California and one in Florida? Now, I know school shootings in America are pretty frequent, which is a stat not to be proud of, but what are the chances? Then there's this, where Brett Smiley, the mayor of Rhode Island where Brown took place, his name shows up in the Google Trend searches 24 hours before the shooting in Israel. Not to mention, one of the shooters in Bondi, Naveed Akram, we know everything about him within minutes, but nothing about the Brown University shooter, as they're still trying to figure that out. And his name also shows up in Google Trends 24 hours before in Tel Aviv, China, and Cyprus. What? Even this witness at Bondi Beach said he saw the shooters, then 4 policemen approach, but didn't shoot back.
Pakistan, and 4 policemen there didn't give fire back. I don't understand why.
But it gets even weirder, because there's another survivor who survived a previous attack in the October 7th attacks in Israel, who had time to take a selfie during the Bondi massacre. Got it. Now, his name is Arshin Travinsky. Now, please note, this happened on the first day of Hanukkah. Yeah, the same date, December 14th, that Sandy Hook took place. You can't make this shit up. And last but not least, shout out to this guy, Armin L. Armin, a 43-year-old fruit shop owner who stopped one of the gunmen at Bondi Beach. He's breaking the narrative, being that he's a Muslim, stopping other Muslims from this attack. So, true on that, mainstream media. Now, there's a whole lot more, and I'm gonna break all this down on my YouTube, The Maverick Approach, so make sure you guys hit that up. But let me know what you guys think about all this down below.
Those being the Sydney, Australia mass shooting, which was perpetrated by an Islamic terrorist, as we know right now, but it is also being debated that he could be a part of Israeli Mossad. That being because his name was trending in Google search, and well, not trending, but spiking. And there was essentially 11 searches that were shown, at least in the screenshot, the screen recording that was taken and posted on X. And so this has been circulating on X. It's been debated. Is this man Israel Mossad, or is this man an Islamic terrorist?
Around 6:47 p.m, 2 gunmen dressed in black positioned themselves on a footbridge overlooking a crowd on Bondi Beach, where over 1,000 people gathered, many of them celebrating the first night of Hanukkah. The attack lasted about 10 minutes. The shooters fired long rifles, including a 12-gauge shotgun, Beretta BRX-1, straight pull rifle, pump-action shotguns, and a bolt-action rifle with a red dot sight. 12 lives were lost, including 11 civilians and 1 gunman killed by police. One of those 11 is a child. 29 others were wounded, including 2 police officers and a heroic bystander. The perpetrators, Naveed Akram, a Pakistani national, and the other one, allegedly an Nigerian immigrant who lived in Australia for about 10 years. A man named Ahmed, who's a 43-year-old Muslim man, bravely went up and disarmed one of these gunmen, who was later shot twice in the arm. He is getting called a traitor online for disarming these men by his own people. Imagine that. He's getting called a traitor for stopping these men who were shooting into a crowd of people. I can't show you most of the videos, because if I show them, I'll get banned. But it is dead bodies lying on the beach, covered in blood. I think people should see them, but I can't show them. The question is, why are these people allowed into countries full of people they supposedly despise, hate, want the worst for, yet we're opening the doors for them? Not us, but the politicians, those in charge. And those in charge, those same politicians today, will put out statements saying that they're shocked and they're appalled at what happened on the beach. Even though we know if nothing changes, it's going to happen again. We know it's happened in the past, but they'll wait until the next time, and they can recycle the same post they posted today, where they're shocked and appalled it happened. Instead of coming to the conclusion, we'd be better off sending these people home. They're going no place they don't know. They're going back home. If it is true that this Algerian migrant had lived in Australia for 10 years, years, and one day he decided to get up, grab a few guns, and start shooting at a crowd of 1,000 people, hoping to kill as many as he could, killing a child. What does that say about the state of things? He was in Australia for 10 years, and he decides to do that. These people have to be sent home.
Muslim Brotherhood, perhaps. Again, we have a second event, which is the Brown University shooting, where we have, again, 9 injured and 2 who were unfortunately killed. According to Kash Patel and the FBI, they have apprehended a suspect, but they're not sure if he's the actual shooter. No news has been updated on that. By the time I post this, they probably may have more information. And there's actually a third event that's trending on Twitter X right now, and that is the lone ISIS gunman that ambushed U.S. forces in Palmyra, Syria, which killed 2 American soldiers and 1 civilian interpreter, wounding 3 others. There's very much a possible connection to Mossad. I think Mossad may have a lot to do with these events that we're seeing trending on X, these separate events, these 3 events that we're discussing. Why are they so important? Well, they're simultaneous, 48-hour time period. Less than that, actually. I think it's actually about a 36-hour time period. If you really connect the dots, all of it kind of made sense for digital ID, mass surveillance, legislation for these things. Of course, also gun restrictions and more gun laws, if not trying to take the guns away. And then again, trying to really perpetrate a war in the Middle East, in Iran. What Netanyahu wants, we see Netanyahu making statements on it now. Of course he would. Of course, Netanyahu would want to make statements on the Sydney, Australia event. That would make sense, logically speaking, of course. We need to consider that we are being manipulated at a 9/11 Psyop scale. Have to consider these things. In a world where you are constantly being lied to and where narratives are constantly trying to be controlled, you have to consider that perhaps your government, other governments are working in tandem to disenfranchise you and perhaps to enrich themselves. There's so much information happening. You can't even keep up with it all. I've been following Mario Nawfal. I think he's really great on X. I think he stays up with information super quick. And I think it's rather important that we all take into consideration the level of violence that's happening and why you need to never resort to violence. We don't need to do that. The smarter way to win is by strategy, by success, and by really just using the system. No matter who you are, if you're Muslim, if you're Jewish, if you're white, which I'm white, I'm Christian, and I believe that America should stay America. I'm a full believer that we need to completely end mass migration. It's destroying the West and Western civilization itself, along with Europe, which again is the epitome of Western civilization. All of America was built up of our ancestors who came from Ireland, Germany, Scotland, the UK, Great Britain, of course, Spain, Poland, and then Sweden. So the point is, we need to preserve our identity, our Western civilization, where we come from. America was built by the white man. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, but it's just true. If you have a problem with that, then you're arguing with history, and that's just a problem. That's something you're having an issue with. So that's your own problems. But the truth is the truth. The facts are the facts. As Ben Shapiro said, facts don't care about feelings. And I believe that. We need to consider that everything we're seeing now is absolutely a psychological operation to manipulate us into possibly a digital ID. We're seeing the UK do this now. That's why I'm bringing that up. We need to be smart enough to actually speak about it, to make these kind of videos. We're being accused all the time of being bots. And I think if you're being honest with yourself, perhaps that's true in some lights. With many of us, if you're not really putting your opinion out there, you're not truly actually putting real skin in the game, really giving your opinion, talking to the camera, talking about the issues, doesn't it show in many ways that you don't truly care enough? And every other race does care. Every other country cares. So I love the United States of America. I love Christianity, Catholicism. It should stay in this country. America is a Christian Catholic country. What's happening is tragic, and we need to call to end all violence as Christians. We need to come together. We need to find the truth, to seek the truth, to not just believe what's being told, not to just follow the algorithm, not to follow your favorite influencers, but to think for thyself. You need to be able to formulate opinions on your own, and you need to be able to come to a consensus that makes sense. You can use Grok with Twitter X today. What's great about Twitter X is that you can use Grok. You just, right here, in the top right-hand corner of all of these posts, let's just see, right? You can Grok each, Grokopedia is what I'm talking about. and it's going to fact check your entire post. It's going to examine the tweet. It's going to examine the entire backstory of whatever it is you're trying to get the information for. And this is why I love X. And so I think everybody should start using this. I actually make a lot of my posts like this. What I'll do is I'll just copy this, and then I'll just go back. I'll make a post on it, whatever it is. Then I'll paste. You just click paste. And then I'll kind of go through, I'll personalize it. Obviously, I don't just copy and paste. I'm not going to let the AI think for me. But to make less mistakes and to, sound like you actually have a brain, which hopefully most people would think like this too, it's important. Use the fact-checking information. And because I do think, as much as Grok and XAI, as much as it has its problems and certain personalities may be more censored than others, right? Nick Fuentes is definitely more censored than others. However, I still believe fact-checking is important. And I do believe Grok is the best source of fact-checking because it is the most open sourced. I'm not saying it's perfect information. And it definitely has flaws with when it comes to the curation of certain information, of course, with Jewish subjects and, sensitive topics like that, of course. Anything that's more of the woke agenda that's dominated by, leftist parties through legal firms, they're going to own little portions of the rights to that AI. Everything, it's a war. It's a Wild West. You're living in the Wild West of technology, the transformation. This is what Elon Musk is always talking about when he talks about, we're coming into the moment of singularity. It's not just the moment where AI merges with man. It's actually when man reaches another level of consciousness. When we understand that we're more than just humans, we can actually go beyond Earth. There are many more worlds that we can conquer. But we have to believe that that's possible. And we have to be able to pursue it in order to really see that before our eyes. You have to believe before you can see. With all of this information happening, I just wanted to make this video to call for peace, love each other, love one another like Christ said. At the end of the day, seek the truth. Don't let any person or president or influencer sway you in a certain way. You gotta go where the facts will take you. Go where the evidence will take you. Be unbiased, be intellectually honest, love one another. Stay peaceful, keep the peace. That's my message. If there's anything I want to be on the record, it's keep the peace, build something more, let's transcend, let's innovate. Because the worst thing you can do is create martyrs. Don't be violent. Don't try to force your political agenda with violence because you're actually creating martyrs. You're creating a movement when you do that. And I think we see obviously a lot of this that we're seeing through Twitterettes. You're seeing the result of psyops happen, whether or not you believe in conspiracy theories. We're not just believing in conspiracy theories, we're questioning things. We're questioning the questioning process even. So you're questioning everything. And so that's how you seek the truth. That's how you're going to find your way to the actual facts. The facts, not just what CNN calls facts. Actual facts, actual truth, irrefutable truth, undeniable truth that is on record in every way, every form. It needs to be perfect. You need to craft your arguments like an attorney, like a lawyer. The art of reasoning and logic and thinking requires this. Everybody needs to get smarter, including myself. I'm not perfect either. And let's spread the message of peace. Let's be something extraordinary for mankind. Jews, Christians, Muslims, Asians, blacks, we all need to see what we can do. Imagine what we could accomplish if we focused on more important things. Greatness, success, and then of course, respecting our own identities. I don't believe that race mixing is okay. That's not a way you honor your own race. I think black people should stay with black people, white people should stay with white people, Asians should stay with Asians, Jews should be with Jews. Stay within the people of your own continent, honestly. I think that's kind of probably going to be your best outcome. Other people will have their pandering remarks and they'll say what they want to say, but that's just true. I think it's disrespectful. In many ways, it should be a cultural sin. That's just my stance. That's my beliefs. Stay with your own people. You're all beautiful out there. We're all beautiful. We all have something great about us. Let's just not abuse that. Let's not abuse that. Let's not transform that. Let's not change that. The definition of diversity is actually to remain diverse. And if we are all mixed, then we're not diverse anymore. We're all going to look the same. Black people are a distinct race because they reproduce with other black people, other Africans, whatever you want to call it. Europeans, they remain looking the way they do because they reproduce with Europeans. Indians look the way they do because they reproduce with Indians. So this is just what we should respect as a race. And it's not to say if you come from a mixed race family, it is what it is. And it's not like it's this terrible thing. You know, it's like if you truly love somebody, I understand that. And that obviously makes sense. That's obviously logical in every way. But I also think there is an element that we all need to consider that going forward in the future. You know, consider those ideas, not just throw them away, not just call everybody a bigot who has those ideas. Just consider maybe there is something more to the idea of diversity being in a form of not being so diverse. You know, not necessarily segregation, and such a strong word for this, but, you know, somewhat of a form of tribalism to a limited extent that allows the human race to thrive and allows all of us to thrive in our own ways, in our own communities. And I think we all have a right to live in our own communities. I say this as a real estate agent. I say this as a police officer, as an entrepreneur, as an investor. I say this with full confidence, and I fully back this opinion. Everybody has the right to decide who their neighbors are. You know, and what I mean by that is you have a right to decide if you want to have a whites-only community, if you want to have a blacks-only community, if you want to have a Muslim-only community. You know, well, actually, I don't believe in that, because I do believe America itself should be America first, a European white civilization. I do believe that, because that's how we were founded. And it's nothing personal. It's not even about race to me. It's about preserving the American identity. And unfortunately, for other races, that's just, you know, you can't complain about it. It was the English and the Europeans and the Irish and the Scots who came over here, sailed the Atlantic, and we came over. There was hundreds of miles of open fields, and we took that land and we did something great with it. Fields, open fields. You watch the movies, you ever watch the old movies? You know, 1923, maybe you've watched 1883 or whatever it is. You watch these shows, you see the old America, and what does it look like? Well, the old America was open fields for miles on end. And then all of the Native Americans were slaughtering each other. And, you know, some of them lived in peace with each other, and different tribes obviously had alliances and whatnot. But the truth of the matter is that there was no civilization before the Europeans came to North America. And, you know, ironically, what's another argument you could honestly say, if we're talking about North America, you could say Leif Erikson was the founder of North America, because he ended up finding Newfoundland, which is modern day Canada. So really, I mean, Canada, you know, North America itself was founded by a Viking, Nordic Europe. Right? So that's just the way it is. America was founded by white people, and that's it. That's North America. If you talk about America itself, then you could argue Christopher Columbus and the Spaniards. Who made it a civilization? Well, it was our founding fathers, the people who declared our independence, the men who were inventors, entrepreneurs, who were innovators. They were visionaries, and they saw something greater for the American experiment that was originally meant to be for white men of good stock. At first, yes, they were racists. That's absolutely true. But there's nothing wrong or indifferent about racism in its terms. Racism has been turned into a political term, a manipulated term to warp the minds of the masses, to keep you silent, to keep you from talking about controversial subjects. So that's kind of the important issue that we need to address. How much censorship are we willing to put up with? I'm willing to push the lines a little bit. I'm willing to say what needs to be said and talk about it. I think we all should. I think all of the people who are trending now on X specifically are the people who everybody should follow. Not everybody has perfect opinions. Alex Jones, Nick Fuentes, Candace Owens, Ian Carroll, Andrew Tate, Joe Rogan, whatever you want to say. But these people, I think, are questioners. They question things. They question the current narrative. And they're always trying to figure out what's happening. What is the truth? It's not about Republican or Democrat. It's about finding the truth. It's about finding what actually happened. What's the source? And I say this as a cop. You need to do the same thing when you're on any call. You need to say, hey, what's the source of this information? What's the real story here? What does the evidence say? And you have to structure, after you've conducted the entire investigation on scene and you've gathered all of the facts and you've controlled the situation, you now have to go and write a report on it. And when you write your report, you have to build your case like a lawyer, because as a cop, you're like a street lawyer. And that's how I was. I was like a street lawyer. And that's how I always saw myself. And so this is how it is. And so this is how the world really works. Again, being a criminology major, I learned a lot about the criminal justice system and serial killers and how that all works. This is what we're dealing with now with Trump, with President Xi. You're seeing with this with Elon Musk, with Larry Ellison, who just acquired TikTok for $14 billion. Okay, and then you have all of these things happening today. You have President Netanyahu, who's giving statements on the Sydney, Australia shooting, of course, which, again, he would. Those are his people. And again, God bless the Muslim who ended up disarming the shooter. God bless him. And because he did the right thing, he took action. And you need to take action. And he's an example of that. But overall, there's too much violence. That's what this entire message is about. This entire video is really not to lecture or to preach, really just to talk about why you need to understand. The truth requires foresight. It requires you to really investigate and to ask questions. Don't feel like you are being pushed out of asking certain questions. I believe with Charlie Kirk, nothing wrong with asking questions when it comes to all of that. Nothing wrong with asking questions about Charlie Kirk's death. Not at all. Because truth of the matter is that it is strange, all of the inconsistencies. And though Tyler Robinson, I do believe he was the shooter. I do believe he was the one who killed Charlie Kirk. I believe that this was a radical leftist action that was taken. And I do believe that this comes from a more deep-rooted issue in the American socioeconomic and political system. Because we've been brainwashed and ideologically subverted for decades, and now we're reaching the peak of that. Let's build a future that's worth living in. Let's build a future where we have a chance. Let's build a future where we can actually be something more than what we are right now, where we can inspire people, where we can make a difference in mankind. That is what's important, making a difference and being something that can be contributing to society. Hopefully you all are doing well out there. Merry Christmas, happy holidays, happy Thanksgiving. Hopefully all of that was great for you, and happy New Year's coming up. Stay vigilant, stay prudent, stay powerful, and stay wealthy.